Chrissy Wozniak. Today, we welcome back American Agri-Women President Heather Hampton Knodle, who has graciously agreed to join us every couple months to give us an idea of what's happening in ag across the country and what action can be taken to protect our industry. Here at North American Ag, we're all about truth and action, and Heather strongly believes in both of those things. We are pre-recording this episode ahead of time because we have some busy weeks ahead, and when this episode is released, both Heather and I are going to be in Washington, D.C. with the annual American Agri-Women fly-in. Where we'll be meeting with USDA, EPA, our political leaders, and taking a stand on positions that we've agreed are important for the future of agriculture. Action is important. Sitting back and letting things happen is not acceptable. Our children and their children need our help, and they need it now. Our topic today is the importance of leadership development in agriculture. Why do we need to train the next generation of warriors for ag? From Fillmore, Illinois, I'd like to welcome President of American Agri-Women, Heather Hampton Knodle. Welcome, Heather, and thank you for joining me again. I always look forward to our conversations.
Yes, and now you got me all psyched up, like, yes, let's go. You know, freedom, run. Oh.
So I want to start out by outlining the action that AAW is taking to help secure a future with an abundant food supply and a place where producers are free from regulation and policy that counteracts common sense, which is the focus of our last episode, pretty much. But what is the purpose of the American Agri-Women fly-in to Washington, D.C.?
Our purpose, first, let me compliment you on how well you distill that vision in that nugget. That was so well worded and concise. So I love it. Yeah. And our fly-in to Washington, D.C. is to allow us to put our, call it, philosophical point of view into action and to bring common sense to those who are elected to represent us and those who are appointed and or career civil servants in charge of developing the rules, the regulations, the frameworks that our elected officials spell out for them. So it's so important that we provide this opportunity or door, if you will, for members of Agri-Women to step through and then meet in person with some of these lead decision makers and policy makers and have real conversations about what they might think in theory and what that does to us on the ground. And what we've seen over time in my involvement with Agri-Women is it does have an impact for the most part in many agencies. And I can share a couple stories where it hasn't. But that's really what it's about, is let's give motion and action to our words and our beliefs, and let's connect people so that they can build relationship and trust to be viewed as trusted, essentially, advisors on these issues that are ever changing, ever evolving, but yet ever present in what we need to provide that food and renewable fuel and jobs and even fun when it comes to agriculture.
Very good points. And what happens if leaders stop fighting, bury their heads in the sand? What do we have to lose?
Yes, well, I'm trying to remember the exact quote. It's not that hard, but there's a home north of us at Taylorville, Illinois, that has a large, almost 3x4 plywood sign on their front yard painted with vinyl lettering. It basically says for evil to triumph, it only takes good men to do nothing. So that's what you have to lose. It's everything.
That just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. Oh, me too. And every time I drive by, I'm like, I'm really trying. and it's always after something like, but we still had to get the car fixed, you have these everyday mundane things you have to take care of, but you're trying to go for that high road.
Yeah, definitely. And very few people are born leaders, right? It takes passion, purpose, integrity, but it also needs to be developed and cultivated, and skills need to be learned. What is American Agri-Women doing to develop new leaders? And what is this new initiative, the AAW Road to Influence?
This is exciting. That's what it is. This is our history-making effort to intentionally help people. I say this not really jokingly. I used to say it tongue in cheek, but to help them through a 3-phase approach, where one is, how do we get out of our own way? Because oftentimes we sabotage our own self with things we don't even know, blind spots such as pride or insecurity or fear, just not even having the courage to then maybe step out of that, or not realizing where our true skills lie and where we need to shore up in some other areas. So we are making an intentional effort with initially a small cadre of people who are now invited as of May 25th. We've opened up applications, so members of American Agri-Women can apply to be part of this really, I want to say deep, but it's a personal development and then a leadership development program. I mentioned 3 phases. The first phase is know yourself, and then figure out how to manage and coach yourself internally. Second phase is, how do we work with teams, within groups? You may not like everybody you're there with, but in order to get something done for a larger mission or a shared goal or desired outcome, it's really important to know how to work together internally. And then the third phase is they will actually complete an initiative or a program as a group. So something that hasn't existed before, solve for the problem and help bring solutions to the table to help other women in agriculture and or the agriculture industry through American Agri-Women. And the deep importance to this is, when you are, in particular, women's on farms and on ranches, and also in agribusiness, and maybe they're entry-level positions in agribusiness. It's the grain elevator, a seed salesman, or we have so many, ag finance across the board who are our members. Some of them have some access to some training, but many, especially those who are on farms and ranches, don't, unless they go out and invest in this on their own.
Right.
And it can be so very expensive. If a program like this would probably cost close to $10,000, and that's before any travel. And so we're working with some partners to try to next level and develop some really high caliber leaders so that they can respond to these critical challenges that you're so well aware of. And I think your viewers are so well aware of, but ag is on the front lines. Yeah. And we need people who can work wisely and effectively to, make things happen, deal with the challenges that are coming our way.
Right. Yeah. And backing up to that first phase, like that really resonates with me, just getting out of your own way. I immediately thought about the author Brené Brown. I don't agree with her in politics, but she's an amazing teacher. And the one thing that I learned from her books is always reframe your problem as in the story I'm telling myself is. Because odds are 75 to 80% of what's going on in your life is actually just a story that you've told yourself. And you won't even believe how many times I've said to my husband, okay, and because I've told him this, right? And we've talked about this before. So I'll go to him and say, the story that I'm telling myself is that you don't love me because you haven't taken the garbage out in 3 days. But it's weird, right? Because we do actually feel unloved if they don't do that thing. And he just laughs. He's like, that's hysterical. Of course I love you. Right? I'll go take out the garbage. But if we can get out of our own way and stop our brains from just, they don't love me or this person's judging me or get over yourself.
Right.
And get out of your own way. So I love that's where it's starting.
Yes. Well, thank you. And that's where we have some tools to help people. They'll be working through some patented, copyrighted, proven self-assessment tools very early, like right out of the gate in the process.
Wow.
Even before they get to meet in person for the first time. And then our facilitator is going to offer not only the small group conversations and work and moving through that, but also some individual coaching to help people and say, let's really talk about this, have the safe space
Right.
to talk about that. Because for me, you mentioned the trash not being taken out in 3 days. For me, it is the wet towel on the bathroom floor.
Oh, gosh.
And you think, really? It's not just one. Oh, there are 3 there now, all piled up because why? Like, I don't think it's going to dry.
I put hooks on your doors. I put
but they all get piled up right at the base of the shower. And I think, to me, it's that, so you don't respect me enough. Like, who's going to pick that up? But you're right. You start telling those narratives and those stories. And I remember, I think it may have been one of our early conversations. And I remember sharing with you, some people, when we take that defensive position where we always feel like we're under attack, rather than, trying to reframe it. And it's more of what can I do today? Because I do have some power. There is something I can do. And you find what it is you can control rather than focusing on everything that is out of your control.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a related note to that. In
Definitely,
terms of
like distilling it down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How we dial in and dial down. Yeah.
Yes, the dial down is important too.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds absolutely amazing. And then what's the time frame for this?
Right now, AAW members can apply until, I think, June 16th, June 15th or 16th. Then we will have some Zoom interviews with candidates. Our goal is we'd like to have 10 to 12 candidates. I think of it in terms of like disciples. I really like the number 12 because you can work so well in small groups and in different just different ways, different teams and conversations, and break things up a bit. So once they interview, we'll notify them by the end of June if they are accepted into the program. And from there, the very first in-person meeting that they will have after they do some of that I'll call it onboarding or prep work, like the self-assessment. Then we'll have a get together. August 24th is when that Road to Influence will meet.
Okay.
Cadre will meet. And then August 25th, it'll be in conjunction with a leadership event that we are planning in Reno, Nevada.
Wow.
And I'm just excited. I think it's going to be fun. I know it's going to be high impact. And, it's Reno in August. Yes, it's going to be hot, but we will be inside the cool Peppermill Resort and Casino. So
right.
Not the casino part, but we will be there meeting. And
yeah,
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. So if someone isn't already an AAW member, can they become a member if they're interested and then apply? It's a short time frame here, but
well, for this first round, if they want to attend the event with the reception the evening of the 24th and the event on the 25th, absolutely join now. And then take advantage of that member rate, because that's another program that would be valued, outside of agriculture, if you will.
Right.
People are charging $400 to $700 for the type of event we're going to be offering.
Right.
For far less than that.
Yeah.
So they can absolutely, join and participate in that. In order to qualify, I guess, for the application process for Road to Influence. So this small group that'll be the intensive program over the course of a year. So we launch in August, actually be a year plus a few months, and then they will graduate or be recognized in November of 2024 at the National Convention. But throughout that process, they'll be having a lot of webinar-based conversations, meetings, almost monthly, as well as a few more in-person trainings and exploration opportunities. And within that application process, though, there is a recommendation from an AAW member. So we would look for that. There is somebody within American Agri-Women who agrees that you'd be a really good candidate for this program, and here's why.
Right.
So that's part of that process.
All right. And do you know what the cost would be for the program yet?
For the Road to Influence program, we have asked candidates to be prepared to help fund their travel. There will be a travel voucher, and we do have kind of some initial skin in the game where I think it's maybe $500 or something to show that you're serious,
Yeah.
that you realize this is a true investment.
Yeah.
There are people who pay for, like I said, executive leadership programs, far more pricey than this, but you're going to get so much value out of this.
Yeah.
So we want to see that, no, they really are serious. And they'll share in some of those travel expenses. And then we have a travel voucher, if you will, to help offset some of the travel expenses. But otherwise, the program costs the materials, access to the speakers that we have, the world-class facilitator who we have.
Wow.
That is provided through American Agri-Women, and largely because of generous donations and visionary support from John Deere and from Syngenta. And one of our past presidents, Mitzi Perdue, if you're familiar with Purdue Chicken, Mitzi said, this is a wonderful program, let's go. So that's how we're able to, and we've got more sponsors coming on board, but those, I really want to give them a shout out because they get it and they see the value and the opportunity here.
Right. Yeah. Incredible. It sounds amazing.
It's going to be so rich. So you can, maybe you've seen these things like seminars, the one-day seminar you can go to on critical conversations or crucial conversations and things. And that's great to have that one day. Mm-hmm. But if you're like me, you're like, well, this was wonderful. I have a Department of Transportation compliance seminar that I went to the end of April. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I have notes and notes and notes of things I still need to do. And that's regulatory compliance that I haven't got around to yet. Well, this program is going to be not only have we talked about it and you had someone talk to you about it, we're going to explore how you apply it. And we're going to allow you to apply it. Mm-hmm. And keep coming back to it. So it really becomes more of an ingrained behavioral benefit. And it's not just theory or a good quote, a pithy quote, but it's something that can ultimately be life improving for you in everything that you do. So, for example, Chrissy, as a member of AAW, you could totally apply for this. And
you're selling me.
And I hope you will. I hope you will. I think we've got I know we have some incredible members across the country, and we have people who they're so humble. They don't think of themselves as a leader. And that's another piece to this, right? Is you say it's a leadership development program. Well, first and foremost, it's really a personal development program to prepare you to be an effective leader. Right. And an effective leader is not always the best person at the microphone with that soundbite, right? An effective leader is one who knows not only how to read the room, but how to pull the best out of the people in the room. Right. Yeah. And that's what this is about. And it's about, people. Yeah, it's so much. It's just so much. But the idea of service, making a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we're here for. We should be here for, right?
That's right.
And you think about Moses, one of the greatest leaders of all time in history, argued with God and said, I'm not a good speaker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, he said, I'm not that guy. And he says, don't worry, you've got Aaron. Okay, and I'm giving you this really powerful staff too. So
yeah. yeah, here's a tool.
Right. We're not. I think the role of this program is just to try to bring out the best that God gave you. That's what we're trying to do, because we can't just endow people with power, but hopefully we can help them find that power that's within them.
Yeah, for sure. And in some of the preliminary promotional material that I've read through quickly, it states, and we kind of touched on this before, but it's a little bit different, an authentic learning experience designed to identify and move beyond limiting beliefs and behaviors. So that's exactly what we're just kind of talking about. But what are limiting beliefs and behaviors, and why is it so important for all of us to conquer them?
Well, sometimes, like we talked about earlier, it can be that self-talk or the narrative that is inside your head that maybe sometimes it's not even audible. It could just be ingrained into us. Maybe it was someone earlier in our life who had said something, and it's just become imprinted in our very being. So part of this is to say, let's try to dive deep and figure out if some of that is there so that you can be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to make it completely go away, but I think some of those limiting behaviors are, things, for example, and I hope this doesn't seem too superficial, but one that immediately comes to mind is when people feel like they need to have the last word.
Yeah.
And that's where their power lies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
My dog's like that.
Is he? Yeah. my dog's stronger than I am at this point. So we're gonna, hey buddy, let's negotiate here. But that need to literally close each conversation with the last word.
Yeah.
Or just reiterate your point, even though if you're especially in a group setting and you truly want to be persuasive, there's so many times just to realize it is not about you.
Yeah.
And so, a limiting behavior becomes thinking that it's all about me and that I'm the one who has to have that last word, or the only one who can make this comment the right way at this time, or that it has to be my idea. And if it's not my idea, I'm basically going to caucus and lobby other people until we kind of tear things back down and my idea gets advanced.
Yeah.
And that becomes very, very limiting, not just for you, but for the full group. And that's something for me anyway, in the last decade, definitely the last 5 to 6 years, has been, I think I've really tried to do a conscious job of realizing and believing that somebody else in the room actually has a better idea.
Mm-hmm.
I may have the energy or the enough sense, if you will, to say, look, we have a problem. This is what it looks like it is. And here are some possible solutions, but we all need together. So I have enough acumen to figure out, let's get people in the room and the right people in the room, but then have had to train myself to step back and say, and now let the ideas bubble up, because there's going to be something much better than what I'd come up with on my own.
Yeah.
But it took years to get to that point. Having been the person in group projects in school that everybody'd always lean on, like, well, she'll get it done. We don't have to worry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of women have been in that same role, where they feel like, oh, it's up to me. I just got to get it done. And then that kind of shapes our behaviors and shapes our decision-making. I don't know. Does that, have you seen that too, in terms of like limiting behaviors? And
yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And, it is really the belief that you can't do anything. And I think it really freezes people, right? I even, even at farm shows, we talk about ag policy a lot on the show. Probably once or twice a month, I have somebody on that talks about ag policy. And so I'm really passionate about it. But even at farm shows, I'll be talking, about waters of the United States with a farmer, and they'll say, well, I don't pay attention to politics. I can't do anything anyway. Yeah. But if we all say that, who's left? Right? Yeah. So I think a lot of it is just like the lack of power, but that's where the training and the development comes in. Right? To say, okay, well, what are some tools I can use? How can I get past this block in my head? Right.
Right. And you notice, thank you for segueing into that, because that's why we named the program Road to Influence. It's the idea that we talk about 5 core competencies in that, but it's the idea that even if you do have the best idea in the room or the best solution, if you cannot effectively persuade other people or communicate, inform them, help them understand how that would help them, first that it's a shared problem and that this is going to help all of us if we pursue this, and genuinely solve the problem. If you can't do that, then you aren't as powerful as you could be.
Right.
And so we have those 2 extremes. One is, I have somebody thinking I have no power, I can't do anything, what's the point? So apathy, which in itself to me is it's like a crime. It's a sin in itself, just to say, like, are you kidding me? No, you do. If you can speak and think and breathe, you've got something, and you have your own experiences. So at a minimum, you have your story and you have your experience that is real. So we need to share that to help people understand what real looks like. Okay. So that's number one. But then on the other extreme, you have people who think they know it all.
Yes. Yeah.
And we gotta be like, whoa, hey there, you know, wow. I don't, even though actually there's a part of me that just wants to start throwing information. And I'm like, really? And so how do we ultimately influence others to do kind of not just what we want done, but hopefully, you know, it's about the right thing to do that's going to serve more people and make things better as a whole, not just better for you individually. But the competencies we'd identified here as we launched the program, the Road to Influence, are persuasion, and actually it's kind of like the top of the pyramid, but conflict management, developing trust, driving vision and purpose. So you can have a shared vision and articulate that, but then how do we drive it? How do we parse it out so that it's doable, not just overwhelming or like a tsunami that just seems so big? Effective communication. How do we not just yammer, but have a purpose in how we listen and how we express ourselves? And also collaboration. So ultimately, it's kind of that no woman, no man is an island. We do have to figure out how we can truly collaborate to be able to get more done. But at the end of the day, it's about that persuasion and being able to have influence for the desired outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now what if someone who is listening and can't make that kind of contribution of themselves, or is not part of Agri-Women, or, you know, maybe as a company, what if they want to donate to support somebody going through this or support the program?
Oh, well, that's a wonderful question. Again, through AmericanAgriWomen.org, there are opportunities to contact, for example, AAW president. My email's there. So you could reach out and say, I'd like to make a direct donation. You can send a donation. That mailing address is on the website. So if you want to actually send it through the mail, we also have Square or digital capabilities to capture donations. And that can be made even to our sister organization, the AAW Foundation, which is a 501c3. So that is a not-for-profit and would be tax deductible in terms of a donation if someone would like to make it, and just designate it in your note or your memo. This is for leadership development, you know, or the Road to Influence. Either way, it's all about personal and leadership development. That'd be probably the most direct way for people to connect and invest in this kind of change-making, positive change-making, intentional growth that we are getting underway here.
Right. Yeah. And more broadly, if people are interested in joining American Agri-Women and are, you know, kind of weighing back and forth, there is a time commitment, there's travel commitment. And what to you are kind of the top 3 reasons why it's important to join, or why, you know, personally, what are those reasons for you? For me, my top 3 reasons would be, you know, I want to do something. I want to take action. And this is a great organization where, you know, you're supported to take action. And another odd, you know, kind of thing that struck me when we were at our mid-year meeting is that you can have a room full of women and you can agree on over 300 things. It blew my mind that
it can be done.
Yeah. And you know what I think the difference is that I thoroughly enjoyed going through the positions. Like, I'm a geek though, so
Yeah.
I just loved it. I loved every second of it. And they're really important positions. And I think if you can distill it down to these important things and start there, I just thought I was so refreshed after that. It was like, wow, there's other people and we agree on the same things, and they're very, very important positions.
Yes.
So for me, it was the collaboration. It was being able to do something. And then really this opening my mind to, wow, there's more people out there that are like, that feel the same way. So what about you?
For me personally, I love learning. So that exposure to different ideas, new ideas, other ways to do things, access to decision makers and or change makers or innovators, whatever they're doing, Agri-Women has provided that for me over time. And I love the regional variation and just how the variety of it. But then totally agree. It's kind of like Cheers. You want to go where everybody knows your name, But I agree with the concept now. You didn't say it quite this way, but I was thinking it's about feeling supported. It's having shared goals, shared values in the larger sense of abstract things, like freedom and sovereignty and private property and free enterprise system. Those as core fundamental things are really unifying. And sometimes in our day-to-day life, there's not as many opportunities to have a genuine conversation with somebody about that. Right. Everybody kind of seems to be in either like the man said to you, I don't talk politics, or I've got my megaphone and I'm not interested in having a conversation. I just want to yell. And so it's really enriching to be among people where you can just talk about those kind of things openly, and then you could immediately switch gears and talk about the latest fashion or the latest whatever. It's about being supported and feeling like you're part of something bigger yet still unique, and continually learning, and also having access to information or decision makers or things that you couldn't get on your own. And the organization enables that.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, great answer. And I'll add that before I joined, it was actually my first interview with you that helped me make that decision, because I was very against just a all women group. Like, to me, that just seemed dumb. I've always worked against that in my life. Like, I've worked in, agriculture.
Because we're truly equal. So
like, I don't care just because my body parts are different. I've always fought against that. But I remember I asked you about that in that interview. That was probably a year ago now. And you said, because we're different. And I'm like, oh yeah, we don't actually celebrate differences anymore, do we? Right?
Not really.
We are different. We talk different. We act different. And we have different needs. When you have a group of women sit down at a table, just to have coffee or drinks, the conversation would bore men, right? In the same way,
potentially,
right? Yeah. So, there comes with, there's downsides too to a group of women talking, but you were dead on there. And I think we are allowed to celebrate the differences, and it might be even more important now to celebrate differences than ever before. So so that was definitely a block for me, but you definitely helped me pass that.
Oh, well, thank you. Because I share that same approach that, we are equal in the sense of, I don't look down on men, nor do I look up to men. I've just always felt like I was a tomboy growing up, though. So all my friends were guys. My dad trusted me. To me, it's like, you earn it. And yet I do recognize things like, call it glass ceiling and pay disparities and these things that are well documented. Yes, we need to fix that. And you fix that over time as you become a manager yourself. you make sure that that gets corrected,
Right.
you know, for the people you're managing, and keep working at it. And there have been legislative changes as well. But yeah, in terms of the group itself, you summed it up there. We are different. We also have different scheduling, different. It's just nice to be part of a group that recognizes you have to be nimble, you have to be flexible. You can't always. So many organizations, especially in agriculture, are still on a traditional. You've got a 2-day board meeting every month or every other month, and you've got to be away from your family, your business, and everything else you're doing, even though you're still connected by your phone.
Yeah.
And we just have, at least for me as a mom of 4, that is not feasible. That's not a reality.
And a producer. And
yeah, right.
all the
And
boards
plus,
you're
plus,
on,
plus.
and right.
Right. And you think I can still get a whole lot done.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not a feasible ask.
Yeah.
And yet we have a lot to offer. So, and it's interesting too, as you said that about being different. Maybe you've seen the brain scans also of how kind of typically, there are always exceptions, but in general, the way a man's brain will function is that you kind of centers in one area, and they're very, very focused, very, hunter focused on that topic, which is tremendously powerful. And yet the woman's brain, typically, on average, as they scan them, looks much more like a traffic grid where it's constantly bouncing out. It'll start in the center, but it's bouncing in multiple directions to kind of gather and collect more of an associative type thinking pattern. From other stores and other pieces of memory and experience to then inform a response. And also, you can call it multitasking. I don't know, I've seen some interesting literature on that lately, but it's more than just multitasking. It's actually how the brain functions.
Right. Yeah. And you can see that. I've been in many board meetings where, the man will be, we have to do this. Right. And I'll be sitting there going, but what about this? And how about that connection? And what about this? And we have a place to ask questions and draw out all of the answers, right? Where it's not just a straight arrow of, kill and drag him home. Right. Yes.
Right. Like, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I don't mean that as a criticism, but it's part of that. I think this is why we can annoy each other too over time, not just men and women, but women and women.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I get it. You thought of all the details, but now we actually need to do something. We just gotta keep moving forward. We can do it. We'll, just let it go.
Awesome. And so why is this particular, you've been excited about this program for a long time.
I have.
So why is it so important to you?
I just see a real need. It's so important because we need to have people who can continue the type of value that we just talked about in this organization. Mm-hmm. And we need to have them equipped in such a way that they aren't constantly questioning themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, you need to be introspective. I don't want to shortchange that, because it's really important to just, do a gut check and where am I really, and ethically and morally, and where am I in my evolution here? But not be questioning, every day, every single thing. They've got to have the confidence to know and to be able to walk alongside some other people who are also well equipped and have had a similar training that they can fall back on, if you will, or draw from, so that they can manage everything that's coming at them. Because I've served as a national, let's just take Agri-Women as just one example. I served on the executive committee at the time our first child was born. He was 2 months old whenever I was installed as an officer. So that was 20 years ago, almost 21 years ago. Wow. Which is crazy to say that out loud. So I served for a 2-year stint then, and then another 2-year stint in the mid kind of 2015, whatever. And I've been in other office positions, leadership positions in the interim. And it is just inhumane, actually, how many different issues people in agriculture are expected to be conversant on any given day, in any given hour. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You think about that. We had, because I have friends in small business from different industries, and they too, as small business owners, it's a similar thing where you have to understand so many different skills, topic areas. In agriculture, it's small business, plus let's add in the chemistry, agronomy, mechanics, marketing, commodity marketing, trading, futures, plus regulatory compliance in everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just, but my larger point here is there is so much more coming at us so much faster, because we are on the 24-hour news cycle. Beyond that, you have so many different channels for information and opinions to be formed. And when opinions get formed, people ask questions or they cast aspersions. There are very few people out there building people up. Yeah. Everything's trying to tear something down, which is so much easier.
Yeah. And get clicks because people click on that.
Yeah. I mean, what the heck? So we're just trying to monetize stuff rather than do the right thing.
Yeah.
And do something that is lasting and truly sustainable. And so that's why this matters to me. Is so that we can build people who are resilient and capable and able to then stay focused on the more important goals, but yet deal with the urgent as it comes up.
Right.
Yet keep pressing forward to continually improve and innovate so that you can continue to be relevant as an organization. And we need that, not just in Agri-Women, but I think every organization needs that. Yeah. Every business, every family farm. And that's where I think the farming and ranching women who apply for this is going to be so powerful as you sit around the table and you're talking about family transition. Okay. And then that's where it really hits the road, is how do you have that difficult conversation where you may have an older generation that can go extremes, but let's say they have zero trust or very private, don't want to show the books, don't want to show whatever, but yet have some notion of some legacy that's going to continue on. And you think, how does that really work? And so through learning these skills and these patterns, and you'll be in a better position to help coax that and help make for a smoother transition where people still feel comfortable. And you have a better chance of holding it together, holding the farm, the ranch, or if you have other businesses, the fertilizer business, whatever, it's very common for a lot of farmers to have multiple things to diversify their income. It's just really, really needed and powerful. And we plan on, we talk about this small group that can apply right now. And you asked about those who may not be able to make it or afford at this time. Maybe it's a season in their life where they're like, I just can't do this right now.
Yeah.
Our plan is to offer again, at least 2 more years, 2 more cycles. But also we are going to be recording some of the content, not all of it, but some of it, and then also try and provide handouts or tip sheets to our members as a value for them. So things that they might be able to, like I have stuff on the side of my computer, Actually, one thing I have on my computer is from the Princess Bride, so that's really not much of a leadership tip, but it's funny. It keeps me laughing, Inigo Montoya, he's right there. But it's things that people can use and can apply. And we want to help enrich as many women as we can in agriculture so they can lead, even though they may not think of it as leading. But even sitting around that kitchen table, that's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And where can people get more information and where can they register if they're ready to register?
All right. So AmericanAgri-Women.org is where they can find all they need to apply for the Road to Influence and also register, sign up to be part of that leadership event in Reno, Nevada in August 24th, 25th.
Right.
Those speakers, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to cover some things on nonprofit governance too. So not just parliamentary procedure. I have friends who want to treat that like guerrilla warfare, like if I can figure out how to make a motion and table it faster than the next guy. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everybody coming to the table with the idea that we really are here to accomplish good things and to do it together. So how do we know what our rules are, know what we have to do for legal compliance, but then what kind of board building behaviors do we have here to really be effective? So we are going to have that as a part of the session, but it's going to be interactive. Trust me, it's going to be fun. And people will be at the point where like, I really don't want to go home at the end of the day, right? Because then they're going to love the keynote who's going to help them with their confidence and also kind of aptitudes and figure out, oh, wow, I didn't realize I had that inside of me. I guess I could apply that in this way, or, well, this is how this situation might play out. And in the meantime, it'd be a great chance to just network with other women in agriculture and get that, oh my gosh, you mean you're going through this too? How have you dealt with that? So it's about the network and either commiserating or collaborating and building support for each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you so much for joining me again. I always love our conversations. I think we could actually go for hours and hours.
Well, sorry if I went too long here.
No, it's great.
It's definitely not scripted. So thank you for letting me just, go off script because there is none.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, all the links are provided in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share the episode if you like it. Have a great day.